Hey guys, what is going on? Chris here with Shughead Gaming, bringing you my review for Golem, developed by Highwire Games, and is now released worldwide as of November 22nd, 2019, exclusively for PSVR. This is selling for an estimated price of $40, and of course that depends on your region. As usual, this game was reviewed on a PS4 Pro. In Golem, you enter a mysterious storybook world and take the role of Twine, an adventurous kid who has been seriously injured and unable to leave their bed. During your recovery, you never stop dreaming of exploring the outside world. That is until you discover that you have the ability to create and control stone creatures called golems, seeing through their eyes and controlling their actions. Hone your skills to defeat the hostile golems of the Silent Watch, uncover hidden treasures and powerful artifacts. Originally announced in 2015, the development of Golem even predates the release of the PSVR itself. After many delays, it's out now. Was it worth the wait? Let's find out. As always guys, if you like this video, please hit that like button. It not only helps the channel, but helps to promote VR gaming as a whole. And of course, if you'd like to see more PSVR content from me, please consider subscribing. And for video updates, hit that bell icon. Let's kick things off with a look at graphics. Simply put, Golem is absolutely gorgeous and an absolute achievement on this aging PS4 hardware. Easily coming off as polished and impressive as Sony's first-party title Blood and Truth, Golem not only stands toe-to-toe with some of PSVR's best-looking games, it may very well be the best-looking game. Even more incredible when you consider that Golem presents these levels of visuals in a single, large, interconnected environment that you are free to explore. This type of game structure is incredibly demanding on hardware, as it must deal with level streaming, seamlessly loading parts of the game's large environments without interruption, and in stereoscopic 3D. It's no wonder then that it took Highwire Games 4 years to bring us Golem, as the amount of optimization required here is benchmark level. Even with these demands, Golem is a nice looking game on the standard PS4, but it's stunning on the PS4 Pro, presenting incredible draw distance in a detailed world while managing to keep aliasing and blurring issues to a minimum. Sure, there's some shimmering here and there, but what Highwire Games have accomplished here is phenomenal. While Golem does lack much in the way of environment variety, your primary stomping grounds in the ruins of an ancient culture are often breathtaking in their beauty, bathed by bright desert sun and easily offering up some of the best lighting effects we've ever seen on the PSVR. This incredible lighting, along with some fantastic use of particle effects, work together to create a world so immersive and wonderful to be inside, I found myself just enjoying walking around. This level of quality can be seen throughout Golem with fantastic motion captured character models and the wonderful designs of the golems themselves. These massive stone creatures that inhabit this world are hulking and a sight to see when you go toe-to-toe with one in VR. In fact, one aspect that Golem absolutely nails is the way it plays with scale. Starting off in the game as a child, I was at first wondering why the other characters around me looked so giant, looking more like the engineers from Prometheus. It was then that I realized that I was seeing them through the eyes of a child and what they must look like at that age. From here, I was projected into a small doll and running around the floorboards of the house, living out my Honey, I Shrunk the Kids fantasies before being placed inside the body of a giant stone golem and giving me my first holy shit moment in VR in quite some time. Standing in this full-body creature with my massive sword felt unreal, and honestly is the definition of immersion. To further sell this point is the fact that everything from your golem body to the weapon in your hand are incredibly detailed and shockingly sharp. Honestly, walking around while watching the sun reflect off my sword while I used it to block out the sun in my eyes simply never gets old. Sound is up next. Like its visuals, Golem is again benchmark quality on the sound side of things, working with the visuals to help create a memorable and at times magical experience. With the exception of a few emotional scenes not really nailing the landing, voice work here is on point, with performances that sound like something you would expect from a top-tier video game these days. When walking through the world, the sound mix is constantly alive with the light background howl of the real world as wind blows through these ancient ruins. This is a small detail that is a huge deal because it grounds the game and it gives it a sense of scope, making the game world sound big and daunting. Golems groan, stomp, and call out intimidating lines while your own golem slowly hulks across the world with a heavy thudding walk. However, in the sound effects department, my favorite aspect was the attention given to the impact sounds from weapons clanging together or the satisfying thumps of connected hits. Funny enough though, for my more OCD side, I greatly appreciated the extra touches as weapons actually resonate when striking world objects, complete with unique sounds for all the different surfaces. However, here in Golem, the real standout is the music. Beautifully composed by Marty O'Donnell, composer of such small little titles like Destiny and this game called Halo. Golem's soundtrack is simply amazing, at times beautiful and nuanced, and then in the next moment, epic and full. Moments of battle erupt with heavy tribal drums and strings, taking every encounter to the next level. Putting all these aspects together in an expertly mixed 3D audio package, Haywire has given to us something very special and memorable. And that brings us to gameplay. In Golem, you are a small child who gradually learns to develop a power passed down through your family to create and control stone creatures known as golems. Possessing these 15-foot tall giants, you see through their eyes, direct their movements, and use them to explore beyond the confines of your room and into the long forbidden city, protected by an energy field that makes human exploration impossible. At first, you can only possess small doll-sized golems to send around your room, but eventually your powers grow until you and your giant stone golem become one. Slow and plodding, my first 45 minutes in Golem was beautiful and interesting, but from a gameplay perspective, a bit on the slow and basic side of things. However, as the game opens up and you find yourself left to explore the city unhindered, Golem transforms into an addicting and fun, if still a bit basic adventure. Best described as BioShock meets the Dark Souls series, Golem sets you loose in a single open world, interconnected with locked doors, hidden shortcuts, and the habit of pummeling you when you least expect it. Sound familiar? Yeah, Golem's gameplay structure immediately brought to mind a Souls-like game, offering me the chance to experience a light and simple riff on one of my favorite styles of games. From a primary hub point, you will set off in your journey fighting golems here and there as you open up new paths, collect treasure, and interact with orbs to discover just what happened to this lost world. Unlike Dark Souls though, there is no real upgrade path, no leveling system, and really a lack of any RPG elements whatsoever. This lack of depth for me is Golem's biggest shortcoming, as I just wanted a deeper gameplay experience to get lost in. Instead, Golem opts for a more simplistic and albeit accessible gameplay loop, giving you 3 primary objects to collect and add to your loadout. First of the 3 objects is that of a jewel that you place in your golem's chest. These can be seen on enemy golems and range in colors and abilities, offering such buffs as increased speed or health regen. Likewise, the second object equipped to your golem is one of 5 masks, all of which can gain you access to new areas that reveal secret areas and advance the campaign. Each enemy golem can be seen wearing one of these masks, with certain masks being extremely rare, ensuring you'll be searching high and low and backtracking through newly and at times not communicated open paths, looking for that high-level golem wearing your future face. Finally, the third object, weapons. Hidden throughout the world and picked up off fallen golems, you will find a handful of weapons, some offering hitting power and others range or shielding capabilities. Additionally, weapons are given a number rating indicating if a weapon is better than the other in its class, with a ranking number such as 3 versus a 5. Weapons later can also possess magical abilities, offering some additional buffs. It is here when looking at how the game handles gear where it again shows its soul-like sensibilities and yet goes in a totally different way. Upon death, you go to the workshop where you can peruse your inventory and assign it to your golem. The catch though is that when you die again, you go all the way back to the workshop and lose any gear you may have had, including that rare mask you had on to open that new area. Upon death and ending up back at the workshop, you must gear up with your remaining inventory options and spawn back into the starting hub all over again. This gameplay mechanic, while frustrating at times, becomes the game's primary gameplay loop as you begin to hunt down golems that may have had that weapon or mask you needed. However, one area where this game mechanic falters is the fact that to change your loadout, you must opt to transport back to the workshop, consequently forcing you to lose your current loadout simply to say change your mask to open a door. Yes, this can add some strategy to the mix, but it often just felt like game padding and frustrated. Now, if all this sounds repetitive and tedious, you likely aren't a fan of the Souls-like game design of grinding and pushing to open up new areas and shortcuts back to the main spawn hub. And while nowhere near on the level of scope of the Souls series, Golem scratched that same itch as I started to feel that just one more time habit forming. Now let's talk combat. Golem feels like a game built around an idea for a way to make melee combat actually work in VR. Combat such as this in VR has always been plagued by two big issues, which Golem seeks to rectify. The first being how to instill actual strategy in a fighting situation where the player can swing a great sword around like it was made of styrofoam and basically devolving any combat into a mess of rapid flails. Here, Golem has ingeniously crafted a unique combat system in which the player is free to move, dodge, and hit the enemy at will, but to do any damage they must block a series of swings from the enemy in order to break their posture. Doing so opens them up to a series of highlighted hit areas with brief windows of opportunity to hit. Combat isn't the deepest and at times can get a bit familiar, but it remained extremely fun and satisfying as I continued to move forward and onto stronger, faster foes with some surprising movesets. And yes, just like a Souls game, sometimes running into a new enemy only to get instantly annihilated. As for your own health, your golem can only take so many hits and your weapon can only successfully block so many blows. Taking a hit staggers and disorients you and makes for some hectic swinging as I attempted to get my bearings back. Unfortunately, Golem doesn't communicate with you your health or weapon strength, and it made the whole process a bit of a guessing game. The second issue that Golem attempts to solve is that of hit detection and how to retain the sense of impact without your hand just moving forward in real life as your sword locks up on objects. The second issue that Golem attempts to solve is that of hit detection and how to retain the sense of impact without your hand just moving forward in real life as your sword locks up on an object, creating that sense of total tracking loss. Less successful here due to just the nature of the beast, Golem does as much as it can, ensuring contact feels heavy, loud, and impactful, while also attempting to make you feel more like you're being jostled around and beaten than just losing track of your weapon. Issues aside, I felt that Golem's combat is still a remarkable achievement, making combat constantly satisfying and fun even if it does get a bit samey. Control-wise, Golem is a bit of a mixed bag and likely to be a bit divisive. With my review coming after Golem has gotten a significant patch to improve movement, things are much better here than what you may have seen in launch day reviews. Golem can be controlled with one move controller or now one move controller and a DS4, or if you are one of 50 people who still have one, you can even use an old PS3 navigation controller instead. Which to that fact is kind of odd that we haven't seen 3D rudder support, considering I think a lot more people have rudders than they do navigation controllers. Prior to the patch, walking was accomplished by actually leaning forward and turning being handled by head tracking, here called adaptive turning. This innovative control method, like many other innovative control methods before it, straight up sucked and made Golem a chore to play. Post-patch sees the previously mentioned addition of an analog stick used to handle forward, backward, and strafing controls. Turning is still handled primarily by head tracking, and while this is frustrating when trying to look around and walk without feeling like a drunk, I did begin to find it quite intuitive in most situations, as I've always suggested to people to turn their head into turns in VR, as we normally lead with our heads in real life. While these controls can still be infuriating at times, I can see what the thought process was, as it does allow one to move and turn in combat without trying to also push turn buttons on your weapon hand. Freeing up the weapon hand like this did feel very immersive. However, in a pinch, quick turning or a fast 180 is available on the move controller, but unfortunately is only currently click turning. Tracking in Golem was fantastic, and if I ever found myself slightly out of sync after some hectic combat, a quick reset corrected it immediately. The adaptive turning option may cause some to feel motion sick, even though it was designed to do the exact opposite. I myself found it extremely comfortable and played almost all of the 7-hour campaign in one sitting without issue. However, for those who still struggle, there are some additional settings, namely blinders, titled here as a dream tunnel effect. Golem can be played seated or standing, but does require a moderate amount of room for swinging arms. And finally, that brings us to fun factor and my final review. I loved Golem. In fact, it has been the first PSVR game in a while to really remind me of why I love this style of gaming so much. I wish it was deeper and longer. I wish it had more environments to explore, more enemies to fight, and more secrets to be discovered. In short, I just want more Golem. This is a good problem to have, but unfortunately one that plagues some of the best games on PSVR. As you know, I hate number ratings and instead rate games on the basis of buy, wait for sale, or burn it to the ground. Golem, with its slow and intentional pace, when combined with Souls-like trial and error and backtracking tropes, may simply not be for everyone. The controls could still use some tweaking, and truthfully, the walking could be a touch faster. But that all said, this is easily a contender for Game of the Year on PSVR, and a wonderful experience to those who can enjoy its style of gameplay. This isn't the cheapest game, but it doesn't feel like a cheap game either. This may not be a must-buy for everyone, but it certainly is for me, and I suspect it will be for many of you. Anyways guys, that's it for me. If you like this video, please hit that like button. And if you'd like to see more PSVR content from me, please consider subscribing. And for video updates, hit that bell icon. I'll catch you guys on my next video.